Hey people, YouTube let me know they took down a couple more of my movies yesterday. The video on hobo language. They say we think it violates our policy on harmful conspiracy theories. I guess we think means they don't understand, but they're not taking their chances. But I went back and looked at it, and it's a good movie. I don't understand why, unless they just don't want people educated. Both movies were back to back. I put them up over 2 years ago, back in 2020, back before COVID. So I guess they were so busy with the COVID movies that they didn't have time to look at these before. It's still up here on Odyssey, and I'll leave the link below for it, and the other one should come just before it. You can see it here. Odyssey automatically downloads them when I put them on YouTube, but I imagine it was talking about the Kabbalah that pissed them off on this one. I didn't watch it to see exactly what, but I'm sure that's what it is. And so I appealed it and give them 15 minutes, and they say they reviewed it again and confirmed it violates policy on harmful conspiracy theories. And so if you just watch this movie and think, who would be the governing body on that? It's about language. And so this is what it means, when God came down and changed the language of Babel. It's a constant going thing. If they don't want you to hear it, they shut it up. And it looks like they shot down both appeals, but I ain't never had so many comments. Maybe somebody in here is telling me why. And it looks like a YouTube glitch, because these comments are 9 days old and older. It must be the same glitch as canceling movies. So let me hit this Hebrew language a little bit while I got you here. This book of Job, it's supposed to be the oldest story, not necessarily written the oldest, but the stories from the age of Taurus is what the scholars will say. And I have other movies where I showed later on the book it's what it says. It tells where the stars were. But it starts out with a man there was in the land of Oz. And Job was his name. And so Job, it's spelled the A, Yod, and then U-B. And so when you read the job backwards, this is a B-U-I, to buy a yob, to buy a job. When there's a tack in the word here to read backwards and forwards, the B-U-I, a job. But being it starts with the A, the most time it's being read, it's to buy, B-U-I, to buy ya. And he was blameless and upright and one who feared God. You can see this is Y, meaning how or who Ra, Ramiel, Ramiel, and Ramiel Asarm Ro. And Asarm, that's in Genesis, that's for the commandments I give you, I assure you, I Asarm, the one speaking a sermon. And then, he yelled, who will do it, the 7 sons. And you see the 7 is the sub, the under, and the OE is the odal. Ancient English for the sons, the heirs of the king, the odal, OE, under odal, subodal, Vin, and 3 daughters. And then on the third line, and where his possessions, the 7, you see the 7 different here, S-B-O-T, and it's sabat, sub, under, and bottom, B-O-T. And you see that in the Greek, the 7 is the bottom count. But a better reading on this, is why they, who they, the wage, from the making, M-Q-N-E. The making was the body. It starts with an A and it reads backwards, the body, and then P-L-A. And the taxes read this N-A-X, N-A-T-S, the planets, P-L-A-N-A-T-S. And who they making was body, the planets, and then back the other way with this tack, the planets on. 1,000 sheep are the planets on. 7 planets was body, planets on. And you can see that he didn't dream this all up. SWS was a list, LST, was the list plagium lies. He plagiarized that. Got that from somebody else. Was the list of plagium lies. And comes them out. It's made in backwards, RF, the rough before. Before means comes before the cart is the oxen. And it's made rough before and comes them out. And backwards, the tune wada. The tune wada, the one singing the donkey over there. And comes them out, tune wada, the one where the tune comes out of. And abide, OBDE, and abide or be made who they haze. The one they've beaten is the one abiding. And abide or be made who they haze. The who, the Eve. You see, that's the ancient spelling for Eve, EVA. The Eve. God will 'em call in Ben made feds. A made man. The God will 'em call in backwards in Vin. Vin is the time, and the time made feds. The Kodesh, the holy. And so this knit that they give the sheep, this is where the word comes from, and I did movies on this before. It's the knit. It's what you're knitting is the wool, and so she sat below the horizon and she knitted all the sky. She created all the sky every day. The first and the prime creator. And you can see her sign, there was the N and the T. And then this is the NT, or possibly the KNT, and it's a image of knitting. It's also, where we get our word neath, beneath. She sits beneath the horizon and feeds the skies up in the east, in the Kodesh, in the feed from. And so that's where they're getting this sheep. Is somewhere it says, what knits, N-A-X, N-A-T-S-A-N, what knits on. The sheep was the list to make E plagium lies. I don't have a lot of time, I'm real busy, but I read over this a couple of times and I wanted to show you this. The base of the word for numbers, to sanctify them for their job, and to buy, and who feeds is, who gets fed, who feeds is, and the skies, S-K-Y-S, and the skies in before, and he would rise early in the morning, and the skies in before, and whole, all what from sparkles, K-L, final M is a S, and whole all what from sparkles, according to the number of all of them. All of the stars and all of the planets is what this oldest story in the Bible's talking about. The 7 sons and the 3 daughters. The daughters was loose been what. And so this tells off the first thing you have to learn in order to read this. This Amar, the base word for word, and he said. And this tells where it comes from. And, and the skies in before, and whole all what from sparkles, key, to give the knowledge from begin. The word comes from the stars, Rama, to ki Rama. To give the word, comes from the sparkles and from the sky and before, to hold all what from sparkles. The word comes from the stars. And so that means, the word is the word of time. And that most likely where this evil comes from, tomorrow, to looking into the future, become evil. Astrology was evil. Where Ramiel was her morrow. And we look at this word for God, this same one used in Genesis 1. And it tell off here some more, over. And Ben over come, K-U-M, Camille, Hurricane Camille, and cursed God to come, to C-U-M-Y-E-L, to come yell. And then you'll see this word again, the sons of God is the Ben Alis. The Ben Alis was the largest group of people, and it's the word used for the fallen angels, was the Ben Alis, and there were many, many of them, like maggots. And I tell you, that Ramiel was the first fallen angel to help Satan. And that's what this story is about. It's talking about Satan just above this. And he's been walking back and forth, from the suit bears a metallic suit be. And yammer and says, you Allah E. This is you and backwards law. You Allah knots. Is then is mate, to love it all, hand in a bid, the hand in a bid, backwards and forwards, yod, the hand in, abide, to buy give not, by a king, come who bears the sea ets, who sir make Ramiel, make fear God, to make Ra. And you see they got that wrong. It comes from the old word anger, ire, anger, rage, and fury, not fear. From old Latin, French, and English. The IRA or the IRE. A serm row, says row. And when it comes time, does for nothing fear job God. That's the hands ire, buy a meal. Hey, there's not much you fear when you're hungry. And you see down here lower, and said the fire of God, is the Samuel, that was the blind God. When the lightning's going off, you're blinded from the Samuel. And says Samuel on fell men. My missus, miss what in or, what be is in, what in or bits on. What in orbits on, and burned up the sheep. My missus miss what in orbits on. The sheep are still the planets, the bits on, and the gnats on. So they got this word for God used many different ways here in Job. And I'm sure this was the first story, so it was easiest. But you can see where the different spellings and where it becomes the word angelic. You see here, and when there was a day, and when came the sons of God to present themselves, to let it in, who they high us above us, who vow ben ye allies, let's in. all the way, the backwards, all the way have, and who in way, W-A, you see it's backwards here, in who the vow, and then who in wages. You know, who in wages is the one that's getting paid, and who in the vow is the one married and said they would be there. Who a vow of in, and who in the wages not says then. So I believe this is the story of the fallen angels, and I'll read more into it later. I really didn't have time, and I got some video of up at my place, some things I've been doing that I'll get posted next, and I'll leave this link to this Secrets of the Hobo Language. And it's a good movie, and it talks about the base of where the symbols first come from, and I really can understand where they would get off taking it down. I'm going to cut this off here. A good day.